Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. Joining me, not in studio today, all the way from our observatory, writer, director, producer, both of many films and television shows, but also the audio drama out right now, True Noir, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing today, sir?
Thanks for the plug, John. I'm doing very, very well. We're that much closer to Project Hail Mary.
Oh my God, the days keep ticking down. I'm so excited.
I've been so excited to see a movie in a long time, dude.
Oh, dude, I can only hope it lives up to Scream 7. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Guys, most importantly, of course, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, well, that's when we're going to take your live comments and questions. Now, I had the super chats open, but you guys have already filled up all of the super chats, so I've turned off the super chats. So if you had sent one in already before the show started, we will get to those in the second part of the show. All right, guys, we got a lot of things to talk about here today, including I'm going to review for you Scream 7. We also have to talk about a little thing that happened in the world of movie news with Netflix deciding to bail on the Warner Brothers deal. And it is now going to go over to Paramount. And we've got a number of other things to talk about as well, too, including some in other news. But we're going to start off today with this. You know, one of the movies that they showed us at CinemaCon last year that looked really interesting, like kind of came out of nowhere for me, was the new Maggie Gyllenhaal directed film, The Bride. And it's a Frankenstein movie. You got Christian Bale playing Frankenstein's monster. And it just looked, and by the way, this woman is probably going to be the reigning Best Actress award winner at the Oscars, because of course she's up for Best Actress, Buckley. She's up for Best Actress for Hamnet. And she's going to win. She's going to win that. So she's going to be an Academy Award winner by the time this movie comes out. But anyway, they showed us the previews for it and they showed us a presentation for it. And I was just like, this could go bad. Like it could go bad, but it looks very, very interesting. Now, I talked to somebody, a friend of mine who saw an early screening for it a while ago, and they weren't completely taken with it. They didn't know how they felt about it. Well, that was just him, because now the first reviews and reactions are coming out because they've had the premiere for it. And it sounds like if Project Hail Mary is our first Best Picture contender of the year, it sounds like The Bride might be the second. As this is all coming to us from the Hollywood Reporter saying Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride's first reaction from the premiere are apparently unbelievably good. So they go on to say this. They give us some reactions from people who are there. Let's go through some of them here. First of all, we're going to start off with a friend of ours, Eric Davis, who wrote, Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride swings big, ferocious, funny, chaotic, romantic, and fueled by another knockout Jessie Buckley performance. Of course, as I said, she's probably going to be a Best Actress by the time this movie comes out. Buckley and Bale are a dream pairing because they're both actors who fully commit to disappear into their roles. Kristen Lopez writes, Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride is wild, audacious, and DGAF if you like it. Buckley and Bale thrill in a movie that feels like what Joker Folie à Deux desperately wished it was. Gyllenhaal's script has a lot of threads. It doesn't weave in perfectly, unlike anything out there. Let's see here. Amy West writes, adored The Bride, one of the most electric movies I've seen in a while. Funny, brutal. I hear the word brutal a lot in a lot of the reviews. So visually interesting and just fucking cool. Jessie Buckley, wild, sensational, plus Christian Bale, goofy, great. Leave it all on the floor. Maggie Gyllenhaal is the real deal. Our friend Perry Nemiroff wrote, The Bride is my kind of big swing storytelling. It rocks two ferocious and fearless lead performances from Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale. I'm also obsessed with the fact that The Bride is hitting theaters in the midst of Hamnet's awards season run, seeing Buckley give every ounce of what she's got. Then also we've got Nerdist wrote in, having watched The Bride, we can share that it's a movie clearly made by somebody who loves movies. The camera adores Jessie Buckley, who shines, and her character sweeps you off your feet in a lush gothic romance that has 1 foot in reality and 1 foot in the world of the arcane. Last one we'll read here is from Rachel Leichman, who wrote, The Bride is a love letter to storytelling, science fiction, movies, and so much more. A breathtaking look at Frankenstein and his love, and a truly brilliant performance from both Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale. Maggie Gyllenhaal made something so special. You know, I gotta say, Rob, I don't have any Frankenstein movies that are like on my totally adore list, right? I never have. And then we got Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, and I loved it. It's my favorite Frankenstein movie ever. And now it sounds like we're getting another really good one, because the reviews out of this are just absolutely phenomenal. Rob, you also talked to some people that had seen this and seemed to like it. What did they have to say, and what are you taking away from the reviews we're seeing here so far?
Well, my friend Rob G, who works in exhibition, took Hills Run Red director Dave Parker to see it. And, you know, he told me something. They both really liked it. As Rob G, they were kind of puzzled by it at first, because apparently it starts in the afterlife. And you meet Mary Shelley talking about how nobody understands her story. And she goes back to like possess Jessie
Well, don't
Buckley.
give too much of the movie away. Don't give too much of it.
This is just the beginning of the movie.
This is right off the top of the movie. Okay,
yeah,
right.
The opening scene. And so it's wild, man. And they, Rob G said that they both loved it. And, you know, look, just judging from the trailers that we've seen, especially the last trailer that they put in theaters about a month ago, it looks incredible. And I just want to point out that Maggie Gyllenhaal wrote and directed this movie, and it's being released by Warner Brothers. So it's another wild swing by Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca. You know, they've had a string of movies for the last year coming out that have all done quite well. One's an Oscar contender. There's other Oscar contenders actually, but you've got Sinners and you have One Battle After Another dominating the Academy Awards. And now, well, we'll talk about it later, but they're betting on an auteurist filmmaker, another writer, director, and Maggie Gyllenhaal, who's also obviously an actress. And I just think this is really exciting stuff. This is exciting cinema. Obviously it's somebody who has a really clear vision, and they're making a crazy swing. This movie's beautifully cast, by the way, up and down, not just Christian Bale and Jessie Buckley, but Jake Gyllenhaal's in this movie too. And there's a lot of other great actors that show up. I think Warren Beatty's wife. Why am I drawing a blank on her name? You know, American Beauty. Annette Bening. I think Annette Bening's in this movie too. So you have a great bunch of actors. I can't wait. I'm really excited to see this.
Yeah, it sounds like it's living again. The one guy I spoke to a couple months ago who saw it early, he didn't love it, but ever since then, everybody else I've heard from is absolutely adoring The Bride. And, you know, I don't know if it's going to live up to the full potential and promise that we saw in it at CinemaCon, but it certainly looks wild. Maggie Gyllenhaal as a director, who knew? Maybe she's the next great actor turning into a director, you know, following in the footsteps of Clint Eastwood and Ben Affleck. I mean, maybe she's the next one. Who knows? Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The first reviews are now out for The Bride, and they are glowing, and it sounds like it's also going to be a Best Picture contender for next year's Oscars. Have you been looking forward to it? Maybe you don't like the look of it. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You guys know that one of my absolute most anticipated movies of this year, like right up there with The Odyssey, right up there with Dune 3, right up there with Avengers Doomsday, is Project Hail Mary. I cannot wait to watch this. I saw my first bit of it at last year at CinemaCon when they gave us a presentation on it. My jaw was in my lap. I could not believe how good it looked. And the other day we heard the first reactions from the film. All of them, everybody was calling this thing a damn masterpiece. It is going to be a Best Picture contender, all that kind of stuff. Lord and Miller knocked it out of the park, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so that's one question down about Project Hail Mary. There's still a second question, though. Is anybody going to go see it? How will it do? Because some of you may remember that not too long ago, Ryan Gosling put out, I'll say it, a terrific movie called The Fall Guy that nobody went to go see. I mean, nobody went to go see it. I think it made about $25 million in its opening weekend when it came out, and then it didn't really recover much after that. Well, we now have our box office tracking for Project Hail Mary. And what Deadline is saying here is that Project Hail Mary is looking to have a $45 to $55 million opening. Ready or Not 2 is to have an $11 million plus opening, which would be pretty good for that film. But let's say a $55 million opening. I've seen some other outlets saying $60 million opening, which is fine. Look, for most movies, a $55 to $60 million opening would be considered very good. Very good. But I feel like, while not a $200 million movie, I feel like this is a more expensive film. It's probably going to need to make more than that to break even and all that sorts of things. But Rob, it kind of goes to what one of my fears has been about it, which is this going to catch people's attention who are not already fans of the book? Is the trailers, because the first trailer they put out was not their strongest lead. It wasn't their strongest effort. The subsequent trailers have been better. But like what we saw with Alita Battle Angel, which had great second and third trailers, the first trailer was bad and they were never able to recover. They were never able to win the audience back. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. So I've often wondered, and we've talked about on the show, was that first trailer, even all the trailers, is this something that looks like it's going to appeal to the wider audience that don't already know the book? And I've questioned that. And I gotta say, I'm pretty disappointed to see a 45 to 55 million opening being projected. Now, Rob, you and I have both seen, even in the last year or so, certain opening weekend projections get blown away, right?
Yep.
And maybe that happens with Project Hail Mary once better word of mouth gets out there. But I got to say, I'm pretty disappointed to see these numbers. These aren't bad. They're twice as good as what The Fall Guy was, but I was hoping to see bigger. What do you think about this as an opening weekend projection? And what do you think they need to do? Because they've still got a couple of weeks. What do you think they need to do to get more of the general audience on board and excited about this film?
Well, John, I think this is going to be a zeitgeist movie. I really do. I think it's going to catch fire. And I think, to paraphrase The Lonely Island, I think people are going to love Project Hail Mary the way McAdams loves Gosling. I think this film, I think this film is going to take off like a rocket, because, you know, a lot of the general public, if you haven't read the book, Project Hail Mary is first of all, it's a great title, but a lot of people don't know what it means. And if they're, you know, we live in a bubble where we're constantly every single day thinking about movies, following the trades, seeing what's up, seeing what's happening. But most people, you know, don't think of movies that way. They think of an entertainment they're going to go see, not knowing what to go see. And I think the thing about this film is I think it's coming out at the perfect time. You know, we live in very uncertain times where it seems like the news changes daily. And here is a film that is what Star Trek used to do. It provides an incredibly aspirational story that is irresistible in the fact that you have a human being befriending an alien. And when that's done well, all the way back to 1982 and E.T., we see where that goes. And I think that this film is going to be one of those movies that I think is going to catch fire. And it wouldn't surprise me that as we lead up, there's a reason why they've been screening the movie to the press early. I mean, the movie doesn't open until March 20th.
It's not normal that a movie lets even the social media embargo lift more than 2 weeks before the movie itself comes out. That shows a lot of confidence.
Yeah. And I think, I remember reading that World of Real article almost a year ago, or no, maybe back 3 or 4 months ago, 5 months ago, where it said that they had a first cut of the movie that was 3 hours long, and people were blown away by that. And I knew that they would probably cut it down. And the movie, it has like the book, it has a non-linear structure. And I think people are going to fall in love with this film, and it's really, there's already featurettes. There's a new featurette with Ryan Gosling in it. And, even Mark Avery, I told you, Mark Avery, Ryan Gosling's stylist, who I interviewed for, on this channel for Designing Hollywood.
Yeah.
He sent me this text or via Instagram. And he goes, you were the first person to be on the Project Hail Mary bandwagon. And he hadn't even left to go work with Ryan Gosling on the movie yet. And I go, dude, you're in for a treat. This one's going to be special, and I think that anybody who's listened to, like you, have listened to the audio drama, anyone who's casually aware of this story, I think is going to go and tell their friends. This is going to be the kind of movie that people are just going to urge other people to go. I wouldn't be surprised if people stop other people in the grocery store that they don't even know, complete strangers, and just say, you got to go see Project Hail Mary. You got to do it. It's going to be one of those movies, man. It's going to be one of those movies, especially in this day and age.
I certainly hope so, because, I'm dying to see this. I've been so excited for it. The book is amazing. By the way, guys, just so you know, coming up on Tuesday evening, we're going to have our next installment of Movie Club, but we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of talking about a movie, we're going to talk about Project Hail Mary, the book, and then how we see that translating into the movie, what we think will make it in, what won't make it in. Just mark it down. It's going to be Tuesday evening. Keep your guys' eyes open for that. All right. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, listen, for a lot of movies, like a $50 to $60 million opening would be considered really good, but I can't help but be disappointed by that a little bit. They've got 2 weeks to try to convince more people to get out to see this thing opening weekend. Do you think they can do it? What do you think they need to do? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move over from one of my most anticipated movies to one of my absolute most anticipated shows. God of War is coming. And, I don't think, I know a lot of video gamers and gamers say, oh, all the stories in movies or in video games are as good as the stories in movies. No, they're not. They're really not. And that's okay, because games are made for gameplay. That's what they're made for. If you can put in a good narrative, great. But even I think there are certain games whose pure narrative elevates to that level of cinematic. And one of those is the last couple of God of War games. So we knew that they were going to look at making a God of War series over at Amazon, the same studio that's been putting out Fallout. And then came the greatest news in the world. The greatest showrunner of all time, Ronald D. Moore, signed on to actually be the showrunner for this. Then the casting announcements started coming out, and they killed it with Ryan Hurst from Sons of Anarchy fame, also from Walking Dead fame, and then on and on. Teresa Palmer, Maddie Patinkin, it just on and on and on. It's a great cast. I can't wait to see it. Well, today, the gods have given us come down from Olympus or Valhalla, whichever game time frame you want to talk about. And they are giving us our first look at God of War, just the first still image. And in it, we get a look at Kratos and his son, Atreus, also AKA Loki. Now, I want you to do something. Look at Ryan Hurst's face. That's game. Just don't look at Atreus. Just look at Kratos. I don't know how you can get more accurate. I really don't. Now, I'm a type of guy who I do not believe that making an actor or character on screen has to look just like the character from the comic or has to look just like the character from the game. That's bullshit. That's weak. What you really need is just to have a great interpretation of it. Make sure the character's well written, make sure it's well acted. It doesn't matter if they look the exact same or not. But if you're one of those people who needs him to look pretty accurate, Ryan Hurst is a 6'6", tipping over 280-pound dude. That's about as close as you're going to get. I don't know how much closer you can get. The one thing that stands out to me that I got to say is that stop looking at Kratos and look at Loki, or Atreus, as they call him in the games. The kid they got looks too young. Like from a story point of view, the kid looks younger, like significantly younger than in the game. The only thing I can think of is that at this age, kids grow very fast. And my only guess is that they wanted to start with a kid that young because in subsequent seasons 2 and 3, they know he's going to grow like a weed over the next 2 years and probably grow into it, and they don't want him to grow beyond it. That's just a guess. Again, to me, my first impression is looks a little bit too young. That's fine. But with Ronald D. Moore running this thing, man, I think the image looks really good. I say this as somebody who's excited about the show. I think this looks really good. So I don't know. Rob, you had a chance to take a look at the images here that have come out. Where's your expectations like right now for the show? Is it one you're looking? I know you like Ronald D. Moore's For All Mankind, but are you looking forward to this one? What are your thoughts right now?
No, I am, and I'll tell you why I like the casting of this kid. The kid has a movie face. Like, this is a weird thing. I've always had this weird thing. There are people that, and you don't have to be the handsomest person in the world, but there's actors that have faces that are unique, that look like they belong on screen. Some of them are incredibly handsome, like a Ryan Gosling, or others have a great character actor face. Doesn't mean he's not handsome, but like a John Lithgow, for instance. I've always been a fan of John Lithgow's all the way back into the 70s. This kid looks like he belongs on the big screen. He has that, young waifish. I bet he's a badass, though. I bet one of the reasons that they cast him is because he was the best actor in the room. And Ron Moore is great with casting. So I would trust in Mr. Moore on this one. And I bet I love the way, look at how Kratos look at the way he's kind of looking like, okay, son, I want to see you make this shot. I mean, there's already, you can see in this image that there's a kinship there, that this Kratos loves his kid. You can see it because he's got that great look. Like, I hope he hits that bullseye. I look at this and I'm like, I bet this show rocks. I bet it really does.
Oh, I have no, and again, listen, we are just talking about a still image here.
Yeah.
This image does not mean the show's going to be good. If you don't like the image, that doesn't mean the show's going to be bad. It's just a still image. It's Ronald D. Moore running this show.
Yeah,
it's
man.
going to be an Emmy-nominated show, I guarantee it. By the way, I just wanted to touch on something here that one of our viewers sent in. I still wish they would have gone with Triple H. Triple H can't act. It always drives me crazy, Rob, when I see people write, they should have got the guy, and they name some bodybuilder. Like, acting talent doesn't matter. What's more important is that his face looks a little bit more right. That's more important than act. Listen, Triple H is one of my top 3 favorite actors, or top 3 favorite wrestlers of all time. I love Paul as a wrestler all through the Attitude Era, right up to today, the way he runs WWE. He is one of my favorites, but the man cannot act. And it drives me crazy when my fellow film fans, like Shadow Knight here, the good Shadow Knight here, it drives me crazy when my fellow film fans, just don't take acting ability into consideration. It drives me crazy. They went out and got an Emmy caliber actor in Ryan Hurst. He's going to kill this. He's going to absolutely kill this. And as big of a fan as I am of Hunter, he is going to do a 10,000 time better job playing Kratos than Triple H would have. 100%. 100%. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Maybe you're somebody who likes the image. Maybe you're somebody who doesn't. Again, if you like the image like I do, that does not mean the show's going to be good. If you don't like the image, that doesn't mean the show's going to be bad. I'll tell you what does mean the show's going to be good. They got the greatest showrunner in freaking history running this show, and he has never failed. Ronald D. Moore, my friends. Anyway, whatever you guys think about this, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still got to talk about, Rob, another early Oscar contender for next year, Scream 7. Went to go see it last night on my birthday. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about this little news of Netflix backing out. And now Paramount is going to get Warner Brothers. And it is truly a dark day. Now, we're going to talk about that things and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and catch up on some other stuff. Because, you know, there are other things going on in the world of movies and TV that we just don't simply have the time to talk about in depth right now. But we want to make sure you guys are caught up to speed. So this is a little segment that we call In Other News. First up, the Casting Society held its 2026 Artios Awards celebrating the unsung heroes who find the perfect faces for our favorite stories. Big winners this year included the horror thriller Sinners for big budget drama and the star-studded Jay Kelly for big budget comedy. Now, over on the TV side, hits like Hacks and Severance took home top honors, while the Broadway sensation Buena Vista Social Club shared a win for best musical casting. It was a huge night across Los Angeles, New York, and London, proving that the right cast truly does make the movie. Next up, we finally have a straight answer as to why Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, one of my most anticipated films, is taking so damn long. Now, as you may recall, originally the film was supposed to come out nearly 3 years ago in March of 2024. Now, producers Phil Lord and Chris Miller explained that the delay, now pushing the film to June of 2027, isn't just about the strikes. It's about getting it right. Now, they admitted that they actually had to take the movie apart and rebuild it because the middle of the story wasn't living up to their high standards of the other two films, which means it wasn't working. While it's a long wait for Miles Morales fans like me, the duo promises that they are quote-unquote going hard to make sure this finale is a cinematic experience like nothing we've seen before, and I just hope it's worth the wait. Next up, HBO Max is officially expanding its global crackdown on password sharing. Following in the footsteps of Netflix, Warner Brothers Discovery plans to move from quote-unquote soft warning messages to more assertive enforcement throughout 2026. This means if someone else is using an account outside of your primary household, they'll likely be prompted to pay an extra $7.99 a month. Now, the company is betting that this move will boost their subscriber numbers, much like it did for Netflix very successfully, as they continue to launch in major new markets like the UK and Ireland. Now, that all sounds good, but let's see if HBO Max even exists in a year or so after Paramount takes it over. Next up, Jonathan Majors is officially making his return to the screen in a new action movie backed by Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire. Now, this marks Majors' first major role since his 2023 legal conviction led him to being dropped by Marvel and other major studios. Now, remember, Magazine Dreams was filmed before that. Anyway, the untitled project is being described as a throwback to 80s and 90s survival films like Red Dawn, following a group that has to band together against an outside threat. It's an interesting move that sees Majors stepping outside of the traditional system to try to quote-unquote restart his career. I don't know, man. You should probably ask Gina Carano if it helped her career at all. Anyway, Majors is an incredible talent who people need to remember was acquitted of the major charges against him, and he deserves a second chance. I just don't know that this move is going to help or hurt him. Next up, on a lighter note, Spotlight director Tom McCarthy has assembled an absolutely incredible cast for his next film. Paul Rudd, Evan Peters, Tatiana Maslany, John Turturro, and Jason Clarke, and Paul Giamatti, by the way, are all set to star in a darkly comic drama based on the book Losing Earth. Now, the story follows a group of experts at a Florida resort in 1980 who are tasked by Congress to solve the climate crisis over a single weekend, which, as you can imagine, goes about as well as you'd expect. With a cast this talented, though, and an Oscar-winning director at the helm, this is definitely one to keep on your radar for 2027. And finally, the 98th Oscars are right around the corner, and the Academy just dropped a new list of A-list presenters. We'll be seeing Chris Evans, Demi Moore, Javier Bardem and breakout star from One Battle After Another, Chase Infinity, taking the stage on March 15th. Now, they'll be joining last year's winners like Adrian Brody, Zoe Saldana to help hand out the golden statues. Now, with Conan O'Brien hosting and Sinners leading the pack with a record-breaking 16 nominations, it's shaping up to be an interesting night with some significant records on the line and hopefully a few surprises. And that'll do it for In Other News. All right, and hopefully that catches you up on all the other things going on in our little segment called In Other News. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, Rob, yesterday was my birthday.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, self, what do I really want to do on my birthday evening? I thought, no, I'll go see that new Scream movie.
Yowza.
Now look, just full disclosure, I'm not the biggest Scream fan of the franchise as a whole, right? Like, I liked the first film like everybody else did. And then I didn't like any of the other ones until Scream 5, the first one with Jenna Ortega. I had a lot of fun with Scream 5. To me, it was the bloodlines of the Final Destination. It was the Final Destination bloodlines of the Scream franchise.
You didn't love the first one, though?
No, that's what I said right off the top. I liked the first one. I really liked the first one. It was a very interesting kind of examination of the genre. It did some very creative things. I liked it. I really did. I didn't like 2, 3, or 4, but then 5 came along and I really had a good time with it. 6 wasn't so great. It wasn't terrible, but 6 wasn't so great. So here along comes 7. And they make the great move of bringing back Neve Campbell, who, let's face it, is Scream. Neve Campbell is Scream.
She is.
So bringing her back. So Ann and I go off last night to watch Scream 7. All right. I'm going to warn all of you guys now. I am going to go into full spoiler detail on this. Well, not full spoiler detail, but I'm going to go into a lot of spoilers. Okay? You know why? Because I don't fucking care. This movie is one of the biggest pieces of shit I have ever seen. As a matter of fact, I was telling Rob before the show started, for the first time in 22 years, I have changed my unholy trinity of the worst wide release films in cinematic history list. For 22 years, it has been the same 3 films. It has been Battlefield Earth in no particular order, Highlander 2, and Halle Berry's Catwoman. That for 22 years, unchanged, as the unholy trinity. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I am here today to tell you for the first time in 22 years that list has been changed, and that Halle Berry's Catwoman is no longer on the list. The unholy trinity now comprises of, again in no particular order, Battlefield Earth, Highlander 2, and shitty Scream 7. That's how bad this movie is. I actually love IndieWire's headline on this. You know how they say, do you like scary movies? IndieWire's headline reads, Scream 7, do you like shitty movies? And listen, I think you can make Scream movies for the next 50 years. It's such a brain dead, easy to do, but not easy to do well, but it's an easy concept. Somebody else random puts on the ghost face thing and starts killing people, and now you've got an avenue and a vehicle just to show some really fun, brutal kills. And I'll say this for Scream 7, there's a couple of pretty gory kills. There are. That takes up, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes of the 2-hour run. This movie should have been like 85 minutes. 85 minutes. It was over 2 hours. And I have a list of grievances, Rob. It's time for airing of the grievances. And again, let me give you guys some warning. I'm going to go into spoilery detail on this. You know why? Because none of you should go see this thing. None of you. I would rather jack off with sandpaper. No. I would rather watch Madam Web again. What? No. I would rather do a marathon of Madam Web, Morbius, and Kraven the Hunter than ever watch this piece of garbage again. Okay, first of all, and listen, it's all about everything that you can do wrong, they do in a movie. My wife, dude, was turning to me like 50 times through the movie. She's like, that would not happen. How does that happen? How does it make any sense at that? And I'm like, and like half of the movie, I just have my head like this, like, oh my God, this is one of, in the worst movies I've ever watched, what I never say is I could have, what all other film fans all the time say, I could have made a better movie than that. No, you couldn't have, and neither could I. Until I saw Scream 7, I could have made a better movie than this. And that is saying something. Okay, so like, just Rob, because I know you didn't bless yourself by seeing this movie. I know you didn't give yourself the blessing.
No.
But let me give you some examples.
Or the benediction.
Let me give you some examples. Okay, let me give you some examples. First of all, it starts off with, in very classic Scream form, you see it in the trailers. This couple goes to the actual Sydney's original house. What's the name of the town they're in? Westboro or something like that is the name of the original town of Scream. Anyway, they go to the original house that is now some kind of Airbnb. And they're not important to the story. It's just that that's where the new Ghostface killer makes his first kills. Okay, you see that in the trailer. Should have been done in about 5 minutes. It felt like it was 98 minutes long, this opening scene. It was so unnecessarily dragged out and overly long and boring and dumb. And it's just like, oh my God, like how stupid can these people be? And that's fine. So anyway, then they get this scene where like the new Ghostface killer breaks into the high school, right? And he like kills Nev Campbell is the main character of the movie. But the second main character of the movie is her daughter. Okay. Her daughter's the second main character of the movie. And the Ghostface killer kills the daughter's best friend in high school, right? She's like doing a drama class where she's a fairy and she's hanging by fly wires over the stage. And the Ghostface killer cuts her belly open and her intestines all spill out, right? Anyway, and he kills another kid too. And so Sydney's daughter sees her best friend dead, right? And they're all sitting in the theater going, just looking at this dead body going, oh, wow, what's going on? And meanwhile, Sydney's daughter has a boyfriend and she's like, oh, let's all go. And Sydney says, yeah, but your boyfriend can't come, just the family. And this girl who just saw her dead friend with her intestines spilling out from her vagina to her thorax is like, the only thing on her mind is, Mom, why are you so mean to my boyfriend? I'm like, come on, teenagers are stupid. By the way, all the teenagers in this movie look like they're 40. I mean, maybe not 40. And listen, let's not pretend that Scream is the only movie that gets much older actors to play teenagers. They're not. They're absolutely not the only ones. But I don't think there was any of them that were like under 25 and a couple of them pushing into their 30s. And anyway, my wife is sitting there with me saying, all these kids look like they have kids. I'm like, yeah, but that's whatever. So like, there's that thing. But then, okay, so the local police, Sydney, by the way, is now married to the police chief, by the way. She's married to the police chief, who's played by Joel McHale. And so they just had this brutal murder at the high school, and they know this is Sydney, right? This is Sidney Prescott. So what happens is, and this is the chief of police, right? It's his family. So they go back home after the killings of the high school. I shit you not. This crack squad of police go, wait a minute, chief. Let us, the cops, let us, your cops. We got to go into the house and clear the house first. We got to clear the house. They literally, this scene, I swear to God, they're all standing in the doorway. The cops walk past them to go in to sweep the house. And 3 seconds later, no camera cut, no edit. 3 seconds later, they come walking out. Okay, all clear. I'm like, what the fuck? Did you just look in the closet? All clear, chief. Everything's good. And as soon as they do, they come in the house and the camera angle clearly shows this giant hatchway to an attic. Guess who comes out of the attic, Rob?
Who?
The Ghostface Killer, because
No.
this crack team of cops that had to go in and sweep the house thought, you know what we know about serial killers? They don't like to climb. I'm sure we don't have to look in this giant hatch leading up to an obvious attic. We don't need to look in there. No, no, no. It's too chill up there. They're not going to go up there. Not at all. And so anyway, then, so there's that. There's that. Then there's another killing, right? There's another killing. So now you flash back, you go back to the house where, you know, Joel McHale's in the house, right? And you figured because of all these killings, Sidney Prescott, we got serial killers on the loose. A little bit earlier in the movie, they show that the police are going to guard the house, right? The police are going to guard the house. That's the chief of police. That's Sidney Prescott, Ghostface Killer. Got to guard the house. Without any explanation, Joel McHale's just hanging out in the house and the Ghostface Killer's in the house again. Just there. I'm like, what happened to all the police that were supposed to be outside? By the way, I'm not sure what town they're supposed to be in now. They're not back in Westbourne or whatever the original thing is. They're no longer Westboro. They're no longer in New York, which they reference the events that happened in New York a couple of times. She's now living in, I don't know, Anal Tickle, Indiana. I don't know the name of the town they're in. It doesn't matter.
I live in that town.
Anal Tickle, via population U. So here we go. So, but I don't know. But when the police announce a curfew, I get it. There's a curfew. The town becomes a literal ghost town. It becomes a literal ghost town. Now, here's one of the things that went way over the edge for me, like way over the edge for me, right? There's this scene where Gail, Courtney Cox, and Sydney are trying to lure out the Ghostface Killer, who apparently is Stu. It's Stu. Matthew Illard is back as Stu, and he's calling them on FaceTime, going, "I'm coming to get you, Sydney," blah, like all that kind of stuff, right? So they decide, okay, let's try to trace the call. Let's lure him into calling us. So they do this TV interview, right? Gail and Sydney do a TV interview. God, Rob, you're going to think I'm making this up, but I swear to God, I'm not. So they're trying to convince him to call. Finally, he calls. He says, "Well, Sydney, like maybe I'm here with your daughter at this restaurant." And she's like, "My daughter isn't there. She's at home." "Oh, no. She snuck out of the house and now she's at this restaurant," which she was, right? She's at this bar, this restaurant thing that's supposed to be closed down because the city's under curfew. And so what does Sydney do? Sydney, the mother of this girl that a serial killer has just said, "I'm going to go kill your daughter now, and I'm at this place." She goes, "I gotta go." Remember, she's at the TV station. And she runs out of the TV station to go to the car, but it's Gail's car. Gail's still inside. She doesn't say, Gail, "Oh my God, he just threatened my daughter." She just goes, "I gotta go." And she runs out of the building, right? So she goes to the car, which is Gail's car. And wouldn't you know it, the car is locked because, of course, she doesn't have the keys. Rob, if your child is being threatened by a mass murderer and they're about 15 minutes away and you realize, "Oh my God, I can't get into this car because it's my friend's car," do you A, go in and get your friend and say, "We got to get in your car and go save my daughter"? Or do you start running down the street and just hoofing it and run? I'm going to run there. What would you do, Rob? Take the car, or would you go run down the street?
I used to run track in junior high school. I ran the mile, actually.
And you still wouldn't have got there faster.
I think it's a wonderful idea to start running.
And in the 15 minutes as she's running, Sydney, by the way, apparently does not skip cardio gay because she's like running 15 minutes. I got to get there. Got to save my daughter. Yeah, I would have been there 10 minutes ago if I just went in and got Gail, but nope, I had to run. You would think, Rob, that in the midst of her run, she would have stopped. Oh, you know what I should do? I should probably call the police. My husband is the chief of police. Maybe I should call the police and say, "Hey, the serial killer just called me. and he's hunting down my daughter and her friends at this restaurant. Maybe you should go check it out. But nope, she doesn't do that. She just keeps running for 15 minutes, stopping once in a while to call her daughter and say, get the gun, it's in the office, and blah, 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 blah. Like, literally, I'm sitting here going, how like, at least not to insult our intelligence as movie watchers, say they tried to get into Gail's car and somebody sabotaged it, or somebody, slashed the tires and nobody else was there. Do something. But literally, Rob, her daughter was about to get murdered, and instead of just going in, Gail, let's get in the car and go, she literally decided to run 15 minutes to try to get to the thing. And I'm just like, what the hell? And by the way, the city's under curfew. You would think at that point that in the town, there would be some cops patrolling the streets. There's nobody, no traffic, no people, no cops anywhere. Oh, and by the way, there's this one scene where the serial killer is Ghostface. Well, one of the three, there's three Ghostface in this one, and all of them are stupid, but we'll get to that one in a second. So one of the Ghostface gets this kid. He's one of the kids from Gen V. Big kid, 220 pounds, easy, tall, big kid, right? He's actually like 28 years old in real life, but he's a high school kid because that's what we're supposed to believe.
Maybe he was held back.
So the kid is knocked down, almost unconscious, right? Almost unconscious. Now, it turns out that the two remaining ghost faces at this point are a little girl. When I say a little girl, she's one of the girls from the singing movie Pitch Perfect. She's the blonde girl from Pitch Perfect, who is Sydney's next door neighbor. Oh, we'll get into that in a second. And at best, slightly scrawnier than average guy who's like 180 pounds, maybe 170 pounds max. Okay? That's our ghost face at this moment. And he's standing over this big kid on the ground. And I'm going to tell you, Rob, right now, the biggest guy in my UFC gym cannot reach down, grab a 200 plus pound guy by the head who was laying slumped on the floor and lift him up off the ground by the head. Because that's what he does. He lifts him up by the head till he's off the ground like Vader force choking somebody, and then puts his head down on a spike to kill him, right? Okay, cool kill and everything. There is no way this guy, there's no way Ryan Hurst, who's playing Kratos, could literally take dead weight, 200 plus pound guy, grab him by the head and lift him off the ground. But somehow, this skinny little guy summons the power of Mum Ra, the ever fucking living, and said, like, ancient spirits of evil, give me the power of Mum Ra, the ever living. And he reaches down and picks this 200 pound kid up by the head. And I'm like, who are we supposed, who's this? Is this Black Adam? Is Black Adam here? Is that who's doing this? So anyway, like the whole thing is like all on top of that. But then, Rob, like the worst, and by the way, I'm only touching on 1 out of every 50 stupid things this movie does. But at the end, when it comes time for the reveal, oh, by the way, before I get to that, let me talk about their use of AI. Turns out Stu's not alive. It's just that the Ghostface team is using AI to make it look like they're Stu talking to Sydney. Rob, AI could do some really interesting things. They do things with AI in this movie that they couldn't do in Star Trek. Okay? That they can't do in 100 years from now. Like, it was just so unrealistic. And how did they explain they did it? Well, one of the Ghostface killers, who used to be an orderly at the local insane asylum, I used to work in IT. Oh, good for you. Good for you. In my best Christian Bale voice. And he can do like the most advanced AI that would put ByteDance to shame and put ILM out of work. And he's like doing this AI stuff on the fly that is the most ridiculous. Anyway. So then it comes down like to the big reveal. Now we're going to find out who are the ghost faces. The first ghost face that dies about halfway through the film, he was some random nobody that we had never met that got ran over, and we found out he was in an insane asylum. He escaped from an insane asylum, but he's still working with the other two ghost faces. Because here's what it turns out. Turns out the other two ghost faces are Sydney's next door neighbor, the girl from Pitch Perfect, who was in one scene earlier in the film, maybe two, like talking to Sid for a second. And turns out she checked herself into an insane asylum once and met this orderly guy and then met the other guy. And the other guy is just an orderly guy, like nothing to do with the movie, was just an orderly. And the girl's motivation was, I was in an abusive marriage, and your story, Sydney, inspired me to stand up for myself, and I killed my husband. But then you went and hid, and now I have to kill you for that. Like, what? And I'm trying to follow this. Oh, and by the way, lady, remember I told you about the guy, Mumra, I summoned the ancient spirits of evil to transform this decrepit form into Mumra, and he lifted that 200-pound kid? The 200-pound kid was her son, who in the two scenes she was in the movie, they like had a perfectly great relationship. And like Sydney brings up, wait a minute, you killed your son. He was too much like his dad. He was a sweet kid. He's a sweet, but they don't even go into it. They just, like, wait a minute, how do you explain that this Ghostface just killed their own son? Say he was too much like his dad, and just leave it at that, and let's not explore that at all. Like, everything. Oh, and by the way, Joel McHale, remember I told you a little bit earlier in the movie that one of the ghost faces inexplicably was able to sneak into the house, and like he stabs Joel McHale, and we all assume he's dead. Joel McHale has been laying with massive internal injuries from big bloody gut shot wounds, stabby stab, and then at the end of the movie they drag out his body, and then like one of the ghost face kicks his body and he breathes. Dude's been laying with multiple massive stab wounds in his gullet for hours and bleeding out, but don't worry about it. He's Joel McHale. The power of community saves the day. So Joel McHale's fine, apparently. And then at the end when they finally do, like, take away, how do they explain this little housewife next door is able to physically do all the things? They throw in one line. After my abusive husband, I started Pilates. That's it. She's like one line. I took Pilates. So now I'm able to fall off of multiple story floors and take gunshots and do whatever, get my head bashed against the wall. And I'm fine. It's all good. Don't worry about it. I take Pilates. So anyway, at the end, after they kill all the ghost faces and stuff like that, Joel McHale, they're amazed. He's alive. And he's like, he's still practically dying, right? So they load him into the ambulance. And I'm expecting, what would a wife do? What would a spouse do? As you have a dying spouse who basically was dying for you and was multiply stabbed in the gut and was bleeding out, and they load him into the ambulance. Do you get it? Do you A, get into the ambulance with him and go to the hospital? Or do you B, say, I'll be right back, and then go have a heart-to-heart with your friend Gail? Gail, you've always been there. Your husband is bleeding out in an ambulance, and she's like, takes 10 minutes out to go have this heart-to-heart with Gail. Well, let's talk. Isn't your husband dying in that ambulance right now? Yeah, but let's talk. Let's talk a bunch. Let's do some talk. Let's make more talk. Let's get my daughter over here and let's have a three-way talk. And then we'll talk and talk and talk. And then like after about 10 minutes, it's like, oh yeah, maybe I should let them bring my husband to the hospital. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. And go get in the hospital. But Rob, out of all this stuff that I'm mentioning to you here, I am literally just touching the tip of the iceberg. Like the tip of the iceberg. The whole movie is filled with dialogue that I can't, the famous words of Harrison Ford reading some terrible script in one of the Star Wars scripts, and the famous words of Harrison Ford, George, you can write this shit, but you can't say it. And that's like all the dialogue in Scream. in this Scream 7. They have made good Scream movies, Rob. You can make good Scream movies. This is one of the worst films I have ever seen in my fucking life. It's just, and you know, I don't expect all movies, Rob, we talk about this a lot. I don't expect all movies to follow the normal rules of reality. All I want you to do as a movie is follow your own internal rules of reality. And they don't even do that. And it's like, wait a minute, why is this guy doing this? And then don't even get me going about the drama teacher at the school. And why do you think that kid is one of the ghost face killers? And like, it just, Rob, I can't. It's really, really bad. And you know what the ironic thing here is? You know what the sad thing here is? I probably just convinced a bunch of people that they have to go see this now for themselves. And you shouldn't. Do not support this movie. Wait till the next Scream movie comes out, because I'm sure they'll make the next one better. And by the way, this is going to have a very big opening weekend, so I'm sure it's going to make money, and I'm sure they'll have a Scream 8. Guys, just skip this one and wait for Scream 8. Wait until they correct the mistakes and go on to Scream 8, because this movie is a giant bag of shit. And in case you missed it, once again, big applause for it. First time, in case you missed it earlier, the first time in 22 years, I have reorganized. The first time in 22 years. I haven't changed this list in 22 years. The unholy trinity of the worst wide release cinematic films in history has a new member. Catwoman is off the list, and it has been replaced by Scream. Battlefield Earth, Highlander 2, and Scream, ladies and gentlemen, are now the 3 worst wide release films in cinematic history. Anyway, Rob, I've gone on for a bit.
That was quite impressive.
I only wish my wife this morning said to me, I wish I could stay because she's off at work. She goes, I wish I could stay at home and do this review with you because I have so much to say. Like, she was mad, like little 101 pounds of Filipina fury, my friend. She was mad about watching that movie. Anyway, what have you heard about it, Rob? And where's your interest level right now?
Well, you know, my friend Alvaro is something of a Scream. He's a Scream connoisseur, a Scream expert, and he was a lot more charitable than you were. That's about. But he wasn't that impressed either. So I don't know what to say. I guess I won't have to see it now. I'll just watch your review over and over again.
I kind of want you to
I
see
mean,
it,
I
though.
find it fascinating that
I kind of want you to see it.
Well, one of the architects of this entire franchise was the one that wrote and directed it. So,
yeah, I mean, the guy who directed this film hasn't directed a film in about 20 years. And he's only ever directed one film, and that was it. But he has been a veteran writer of this series. So I was like, okay, not a big resume for directing, one film only that he hasn't directed in 20 years, but he knows this franchise as good as anybody. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But oh my God, he can't even blame the screenwriters.
Nope.
He can't even blame the screenwriters on this. It's so bad. Anyway, guys, listen, the beautiful thing about movies is that they are all subjective. Just because I think, I can't emphasize this enough. Just because I think it is absolutely one of the worst films in cinematic history does not automatically mean, in your own twisted perversion, that you may not like it. Maybe you will, and that's not a bad thing. That's the beautiful thing about cinema and films, is that it's art, and art is subjective. And maybe this movie will hit some of you in a way that it clearly did not hit me. And maybe some of the things that are big weaknesses to me, maybe they won't bother you as much. All I can do is speak for myself. And for myself, this is one of the worst pieces of garbage I have ever seen. Anyway, guys, whatever you think about this, go on ahead and leave your comments down below. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to it here. You know, for the longest time now, it looked like Netflix had won the bidding war. But that, as we always cautioned everybody, it's not over. Paramount still has the opportunity to come in with new bids. They kept trying to get Warner Brothers to cancel the Netflix deal, wouldn't do it. They did everything except increase their bid. And then finally, they increased their bid. And as we talked about on the show the other day, that meant that Warner Brothers was going to take it into consideration. And as we discussed yesterday, if they determined that it was a better bid, that would give Netflix 4 days contractually to match the Paramount offer. Yesterday, we found out, just as the show was ending, Rob, you weren't here, but just as the show was ending, we found out that Warner Brothers and their board did indeed determine that the new Paramount bid was the better bid. Okay. That starts off a 4-day countdown clock for Netflix to respond and match the bid. They took 5 minutes and said, we're out. Netflix said, we're out. At this, we wanted Warner Brothers at what we thought was the right price. What you guys are now asking, we don't believe makes financial sense. And Netflix backed out. And that means, as is being reported in the Hollywood Reporter, Netflix backs out of the Warner Brothers bidding. Paramount now wins. As Ted Sarando says, it was always nice to have. Buying Warner Brothers was nice to have at the right price, but it's not a must-have at any price. We wanted it at the right price, but it's not like we ever felt like we have to have Warner Brothers at whatever the price. And they simply thought, Rob, that what Paramount offered Warner Brothers and Warner Brothers determined was the better offer, they looked at it and said, Warner Brothers isn't worth that much. And therefore, we're going to be responsible and we're going to say, we're out. Kind of like Shark Tank. They said they're out. Now, I think this is a very, very, you know me, Rob, I try to be realistic and yet still be optimistic and hope for the best. I am going to, in the depths of my soul, just hope for the best. I'm going to hope things are going to go well. But the realist in me right now is this is one of the darkest days I can ever recall in movie history. Like, the pandemic shutting down movie theaters was bigger. Like, that was bigger. But honestly, other than the pandemic shutting down movie theaters, I cannot think of a darker day as a storytelling fan. Because, Rob, one of the things that we knew this back in October. Paramount announced back in October that their plans for HBO, the most celebrated name in all of televised entertainment, the most decorated, the most award-winning, the cream of the crop, the best of the best, the gold standard when it comes to producing the greatest television. Paramount's plan is to close HBO down and absorb it into Paramount Plus. That's been confirmed again. Interestingly enough, Ellison plans to merge HBO Max into the existing Paramount Plus streaming platform, so HBO Max will be no more, creating one service featuring the libraries of both companies to make Paramount Plus, this is from Paramount, to make Paramount Plus more compelling for subscribers. Rob, they're killing the greatest name in television entertainment history in HBO Max. Netflix was, of course, going to leave HBO Max alone to operate independently and keep doing their thing. And they're shutting down HBO Max. A couple of other things that we've learned in these reports. According to Bloomberg, Paramount intends to keep the executive officers and controlling the controlling department presidents in place, which means Mike DeLuca, Pam Abdy, Casey Bloys, James Gunn, and Peter Safran. So I know a lot of people thought that if Paramount got Warner Brothers, that one of the first things they would do is because David and Larry Ellison are little Trump bitch boys. And because Donald Trump doesn't like James Gunn and James Gunn doesn't like Donald Trump, that a lot of people assumed, understandably so, completely understandably so, that one of the first things they would probably do is get rid of James Gunn. Apparently, in a statement they have now put out, again, this coming from Bloomberg, they plan to keep DeLuca, Abdi, Blois, who is the head of HBO Max. So I guess they're going to just bring him over to Paramount. And James Gunn and Peter Safran. They plan on keeping them. But Rob, I was telling you this before the show started today. I have not spoken to James Gunn. Let's be clear. It's going to take about 8 months to a year for this deal to finalize. It's going to take about 8 months to a year. Sometime before the end of the year, I 100% guarantee. Again, I haven't spoken to James Gunn. I'm just telling you what I think. But I am 100% sure that before the end of the year, James Gunn is going to go to David Zaslav and say, it's been nice, but there's no way I'm working for those guys. So can you please let me out of my contract? And I think David Zaslav will let him out of his contract. And then I think he's going to end up back at Marvel, and he will become Kevin Feige's heir apparent to take over Marvel after Kevin Feige finally goes. That's what I think is going to happen. That's the roadmap that I see happening here. But there is no way I just can't imagine a scenario that James Gunn, because we all know how James Gunn feels about Donald Trump. Whether you think he's right to feel that way or whether you think he's wrong to feel that way, we all know how James Gunn feels about Donald Trump, and Ellisons are Donald Trump's little fuck toys. So I just don't see any reality in which James Gunn stays. He's going to quit. He's I just can't see him staying. He's going to quit. And then just like when he left Disney, every single other studio is going to line up to offer him whatever job he wants. But I just don't see him staying, despite the fact that Paramount is saying they're going to keep him. We already know, Rob, that this is going to lead to, Paramount has already announced they're going to do $6 billion in cuts. $6 billion in cuts. Not $6 million in cuts. Not $60 million in cuts. Not $600 million in cuts. They're going to do 10 times $600 million in cuts. And so a lot of people, obviously, at Warner Brothers, are going to lose their jobs. HBO Max is disappearing. It's going to be absorbed into Paramount. Whether DeLuca and Abdi stay, I don't know. Rob, I was talking to a friend of ours today, and they had a really interesting thought. They think DeLuca and Abdi, and maybe even Casey Blois, have maybe built a relationship with Ted Sarandos during all this process, and they may jump ship and they may end up over at Netflix. Now that Ted Sarandos has got a little bit of a taste of the theatrical movie business. And by the way, Warner Brothers now has to pay Netflix $3 billion. It could be anywhere between 3 and 5 billion. Just to be safe, to be conservative, I'll say 3.
It's 2.5 and it was already paid.
Sorry, it was 2.8. Sorry, that's right. It was 2.8.
And I thought it was Paramount that has to pay Netflix.
That's it. Paramount has to play. No, sorry, not Paramount. Warner Brothers has to pay the breakup fee.
Because, no, but I think it's being reported on Deadline that
Paramount will give Warner Brothers the money to pay them, but the contract is between Netflix and Warner Brothers. So Netflix now gets a $2 billion breakup fee, and they're going to use that money to probably hire DeLuca and Abdi. And boy, again, we're not saying that will happen, but that is the one theory that my buddy floated, and I think that's probably not a bad theory.
Yeah.
And Rob, again, the thing that is really disheartening to me is
By the way, Paramount had to pay Warner Brothers termination fee. Paramount paid that. Warner Brothers didn't. Paramount had to pay.
Well, that's because Paramount made it a part of their offer that they would cover any. So again, it's Warner Brothers that has to pay it, but Paramount is going to cover it.
Yeah,
so,
and they've already done it.
Yeah, and so that's been done now. So they're going to use that money, probably take them out. And again, one of the really, really, really big things, aside obviously from the disappearance of HBO, is, Ellison. The deal to buy Paramount got finalized, got accepted in the summer of 2024. He took over the reign. They closed the deal and did the final after it cleared all the dotting the I's, crossing the T's. It was back in the summer of 2025 that even though they officially bought it in the middle of 2024, David Ellison didn't take over the CEO office until the middle of 2025. In 6-7 months, they haven't done anything other than a very shrewd business move, getting UFC onto Paramount Plus. I think it was an expensive move, but I think that was a good move. I do. But they have done nothing. We don't know anything. They have had 6-7 months to make announcements and whatever. They have the weakest slate of the year this year coming out. We haven't seen that they can even run Paramount.
Right.
Let alone run Paramount and Warner Brothers. And so, to me, this is an incredibly dark day. Anyway, Rob, I've set the stage. I went through all the details. What's your impression of all this? What's your response to all of it?
Well, I love Warner Brothers. My first ongoing industry job back in 1989 was I was hired by Bill Young, who was the senior vice president of physical production at Warner Brothers, to be one of the 3 management trainees. They created a new position where he brought in young, eager beavers like myself to teach us how movies are produced at the studio level. And it was incredible. We had the run of the lot. It was, I can't even begin to tell you how much I learned and how fun it was to work there and be a part of all the movies that Warner Brothers made at that time. And then, of course, I went back over the years and did other work. I produced The Hills Run Red for Warner Premiere back in 2008. And in, of course, 2005, I did Superman Returns. I was in Australia for a year on that film. So Warner Brothers, the studio, and one of my favorite people in the industry that is working today is George Feltenstein, who heads up Warner Archive, who is in charge of restoring all of their back catalog and putting them out on home video. And he's an amazing guy and one of the most knowledgeable people in the industry. And he's had to go through, when AT&T took over, they dismissed him. And of course, everything fell apart because George knows everything about where all the prints are, where the elements reside. So they had to bring him back. And it's now he had to go through the Warner Discovery merger and things were cooking over there. And now they have to go through this again. And I think the thing that's really depressing about all this isn't about movies. This is about political positioning and who's going to allow. I mean, you have news organizations like CNN that are falling. Trump was already saying to whether you are a Trump fan or not, when Trump was saying to Netflix, you need to get rid of this person on your board. There's a lot more going on here than just the acquisition of a studio. And I think that's what Larry Ellison is leaving his encampment in Maui to move to Florida to be closer to Donald Trump. Now what you have is a consolidation of media power that should really give a lot of people pause, because this isn't just 2 entertainment companies. You're talking all different kinds of media. You're talking news, and it's basically under the control of 2 guys. And I don't think that's healthy for our country. I don't think it's healthy for democracy. I don't think it's healthy for the movie industry. And these guys aren't talking about what they're going to do. Netflix and Warner Brothers were going to be like 2 lungs of the same industry. And they both were going to be pumping to keep the heart going. And we're not going to have that anymore. And it's just yet another consolidation of money, media power, and who loses? The public. And it's really a bummer, man. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
And I don't see, are they gonna, is Paramount gonna slash the Warner Brothers restoration budget? Warner Brothers has these great deals all over with 4 different companies to release their catalog titles for the next couple of years. Is that going to go away? I don't think it can. But if it did, that would be a tremendous loss.
Yeah, again, listen, I want to be clear here. No matter how bad something looks, it can work out. And I'm again, look, I'm very pessimistic. I mean, that's clear. I'm very, very pessimistic about this whole thing. Again, because the Ellisons and Paramount over the past, since mid 2024, when their offer got accepted to buy Paramount, to summer of 2025, when he actually took over the CE office and began directing the company, they have literally done nothing. They haven't shown I'm looking for things to feel optimistic about, but they haven't done anything to make me feel optimistic. They haven't shown they can run this company yet. And I'm not saying they can't. I'm not saying they can't run Paramount. I'm saying they haven't done anything to show us that they can run this company yet. And yet now, this guy who quite frankly looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, backed by daddy's money, is now in control of Paramount and Warner Brothers. And that does not mean it's impossible for it to work. I will remain hopeful that it can. I'm just saying I'm looking for somebody to sit down with me and really give me a reason to be hopeful. Because right now I'm just choosing to have hope. Nobody has given me any data. Nobody has given me any precedent. Nobody has given me any evidence about why I should feel hopeful. I'm just choosing to try to be hopeful, but I haven't seen anything. Do you got anything for me, Rob? Like, find a silver, if you had to find a silver lining in this right now, how would you feel?
Look, the fact that they want to get rid of HBO is a brand that predates Paramount Plus by decades. If anything, they should fold Paramount Plus into HBO. I mean, I don't understand why you would do that. I mean, I do understand it's a branding issue, but the problem is, Warner Brothers as a studio, as a movie making and entertainment concern, is way more successful than Paramount is and has been for a long time. Paramount has not exactly been a powerhouse studio over the last decade and a half. And it's really a bummer. I mean, I think it's really a bummer, and it's taken over by people that, I mean, Netflix is basically a distributor. Warner Brothers is the studio, even though Netflix does produce their own stuff, but Warner Brothers, and that's how they were going to be kept. Now, Paramount is a company that is not exactly, look at how much debt they have. They're not in great shape at all.
No,
and then
this thing is not gonna help their financial position at all.
No, and I think the whole thing is going to collapse. It's going to turn into the same thing that happened to Warner Brothers under AT&T.
Now, it needs to be pointed out here for everybody right now is to understand this, because this is important. Paramount does not own Warner Brothers now. Not yet. It's going to be, I said 8 to 12 months, maybe broaden that out, anywhere from 7 to 14 months. It's at some point they'll make an announcement about a timeline, but we're probably talking anywhere between 7 to 14 months that it'll be to go through everything that needs to happen, all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed. Warner Brothers is still Warner Brothers, at least for the next 6 to 14 months until they actually take it over. Much like when the Ellisons and Paramount, the Ellisons made the offer to take over Paramount, it was almost a year. It was probably a little bit over a year, Rob, I think, before they actually owned it. Like the deal got made, and then it took a year to actually make it execute. We're still a ways off from Paramount owning them, so it's just important for everybody to know, as of today, and for this next week, and this next month, and this next several months, Paramount does not yet own Warner Brothers. They won't for a while, but it's coming unless something happens. Like, I don't know, Rob, maybe Apple steps in and goes, we'll offer you double what Paramount is paying you, and we'll just pay you out of what's in my back pocket, because Apple can buy and sell Paramount 4 times over. I mean, but that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
So all we can do now is hope for the best.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, Rob, if nothing else, this has made the upcoming CinemaCon very interesting.
Yeah.
Because we're going to CinemaCon in just a couple of months, and it's going to be very, very interesting. And Paramount is scheduled to have a presentation, and Warner Brothers is scheduled to have a presentation. And of course, at that point, they will still be 2 separate companies, but obviously this is going to be addressed because movie theater owners are going to be very concerned about all this. And it's going to be very interesting to see at CinemaCon what Paramount and Warner Brothers have to say in person.
Yep.
And we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, guys, we could probably sit here and talk about this all day. I will choose not to. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Paramount did finally up their bid. Warner Brothers said, okay, this is the better bid. Netflix, you got 4 days to match it. And Netflix says, peace out. That's not worth it to us, and we're out. And Netflix is now out. They've chosen to leave. That means if everything goes the way it looks like it will, in under a year time or right around a year from now, Paramount's going to own Warner Brothers. How do you feel about that? I'm not going to lie. Today, I'm feeling very negative about it. I really am. I hope things happen that can change my mind and make me feel better about it. If you guys got anything that can make me feel better about it, I would love to hear it. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With all that down, let's now get over and take your live questions that you guys sent in already. But before we do that, we're going to bid good afternoon and have a terrific weekend to writer, director, producer Robert Meyer Burnett. Great job as always, my friend, and we'll talk to you on Monday.
All right. I will see you later.
All right. Have a good one, man. Great job.
You too.
All right, guys. Let's get over and hear the questions that you guys have been sending in, shall we? And we're going to start off here with Brandon Bowers, who writes, I know you don't think K-pop Demon Hunters will win at the Oscars, but it has already won Best Animated Film at the Critics' Choice Award. That means nothing. Golden Globes, that means nothing. Annie Awards, that means something, but I still just don't see Oscar voters voting for K-pop Demon Hunters. Listen, I'm not going to fall over in complete shock if they do. Like, I'm not going to be, oh my God, that's the biggest surprise ever. Nah, it is possible. I'm just saying I doubt it. But, you never know. It could be possible. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got, give me a second here. I'm going to see if I can bring my camera up on the screen. And it's not working. I can't get it up on the screen. Oh, there we go. Okay, now we're up on the screen. All right. Next question up comes to us from Connor, who writes, I now want David Fincher to do a movie about the WB merger drama like The Social Network. Yeah. I don't know if it'll be 10 years from now, 20 years from now. But if this deal does indeed go through and happens, I could absolutely see a Social Network kind of in the vein of Succession, a movie being made about this. I could totally see it. All right. Richard Lai writes, hey, John, David Zaslav mentioned that the deal may take 6 to 12 months or more due to regulations. Yep, we were just talking about that. He even said if the deal doesn't close, WB stays independent. Now, yes. Now, look, that is something that we didn't go into in the discussion on the topic that maybe we should have touched on. But I think it's fairly obvious. Things can go wrong over the next year. Right? I mean, there is still a reality here that exists that something goes wrong to make the deal fall apart. Like Rob mentioned, a lot of the Paramount offer, Paramount doesn't have that money. Like a lot of that money that they're using to buy Warner Brothers is coming from outside sources that Warner Brothers directors felt a little iffy about. There are many things that could go wrong, and there still is a possibility that the deal falls apart and Warner Brothers stays independent, or the deal falls apart and somebody else comes in to buy them. Who knows? Whatever. Again, the probability is that this now happens, but it is still possible that this deal doesn't execute. So we'll just have to wait and see. But you're right about that, Richard. Just for somebody who was asking live chat, the super chats are closed. I closed them right before the show started because a lot of them already came in. But don't worry, we'll open up the super chats again on Monday. Okay. Johnny Got Lost writes, very unlikely, but my only hope I have left is that Paramount made a deal with money that they didn't actually have with them. I was just talking about this. And them being in huge debt that they don't have the collateral to back up their bid. That has always been one of the concerns. That's been one of the big reasons the Warner Brothers board had rejected the previous Paramount offers, is because a lot of the money they're going to use to buy is leveraged money. And a lot of things can go wrong with leveraged money. Now, once everything goes through and the money gets into Warner Brothers' bank account, proverbially, then it doesn't matter. Then it's done, right? But they are concerned about how much of this leveraged money could be shaky. So again, we'll just have to wait and see. Again, I think it's probable that everything goes through the way it's supposed to, but there is some possibility here that it could fall apart. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Jeff writes, you posted that WBD was the end of the industry. I don't know that it's the end of the industry, but it's not good. It could be the first domino that falls in an industry that's already pretty shaky. Anyway, and the darkest day ever sounds hyperbolic. Would you say the same if Netflix won? No, because Netflix, remember, I did feel initially when Netflix announced that they were also going after Warner Brothers, I said on this show months ago, I said that would be the worst case scenario. However, what intelligent people do is when new information becomes available, we reevaluate our opinion. That's what intelligent people do. It's what I try to do at any rate. So the more and more we heard from the plans of what Netflix's plans were, and the more and more that I realized that from a greed point of view, it was all in Netflix's best financial interest to do the things they actually said they were going to do. Like a lot of people would say, yeah, Netflix is saying all this stuff, but we don't believe them. Okay, but follow the money. When I realized that, oh my God, everything that Ted Sarandos is saying they're going to do is actually in their own greedy best interests, I have learned to trust in corporate greed. That's pretty dark, but it's true. I trust corporations' greed. And it was in Netflix's best personal, greedy little corporate interests to actually do the things that Ted Sarandos said they were going to do. It was in their best interest. It was what was going to make them the most money. And their plan was to keep Warner Brothers operating as it is with its existing leadership, that HBO Max would continue to operate with its existing leadership, that they would completely stay as their own independent entity, even though Netflix owned them, and that Netflix would now have access to Warner Brothers distribution channels, which took a century to establish, to actually start releasing some of their own movies into theaters, the way we've always wanted Netflix to do. So would I have felt the same way if Netflix had taken them over? No, because it was the better path for the movie industry. And it was in Netflix's own greedy best interest to do it. So no, it wouldn't have been the same. It would not have been the same. For the industry, it would have been much, 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 much better for Netflix to get them. I didn't always feel that way, but as information became available, I really came to believe that it would have been much better for the industry as a whole, 1,000 times better for the industry as a whole had Netflix won Warner Brothers. But they didn't. And listen, for people who are mad at Warner Brothers for accepting Paramount's deal, remember that Warner Brothers board has a legal obligation to accept what is considered to be the best offer, the most solid and best offer for their shareholders. They have a legal obligation to do that. And if Paramount literally put the best offer on the table, then the board really doesn't have a lot of choice. They have to recommend it to the share. Now, the shareholders can still vote against it if they want, but you can't really be mad at the board of Warner Brothers because they are literally just fulfilling their legal obligations. And if Paramount legitimately put the best bid on the table, then fair play. Fair play. And then it's up to Netflix to match the deal. And Netflix said, no, we're out. So you can't be mad at Warner Brothers board for this because they are literally just doing what they are supposed to do. It is what it is. All right. Next up, Johnny Got Lost writes, P.S. Cinema United still wants to nix the deal. Yeah, Cinema United, who represents all of the movie theaters. Cineplex United is the trade organization formerly known as NATO, the North American Theater Owners. They are now the Global Theater Owners Representation. They want to kill the deal. They wanted to kill the Netflix buying Warner Brothers deal. They want to kill the Paramount buying Warner Brothers deal. I don't think they'll be successful because they also wanted to kill the Disney Fox deal and they were completely ineffective at stopping that. So I don't see that happening. But yes, you are right. Cinema United, the movie theaters organization, they do want to kill the deal. I just don't think they're going to be able to. Damaris Love says, I guess whining is the answer. I mean, but that's all we got right now, right? Like, all we can do, like all people like me or you or whatever who don't like it, all we can do right now is whine about it. I mean, there's literally nothing else we can do at this point. So yeah, I mean, listen, I'll tell you, I'm whining about this 100% because it's bad. Because it's bad. Because it's demonstrably bad. It's bad for the industry. It's bad for moviegoers. That doesn't mean there's not a chance it can't turn around and actually work out. And I'm going to deep down in my heart try to remain a little bit optimistic. But when something legitimately bad happens, you legitimately whine about it. And I'm going to bitch and cry and whine about this for now because it's a bad thing. It's just a bad thing. All right. Next up. Let's see. Rhino writes, God of War first look. Any thoughts? Already covered it. I think it looks great. That doesn't mean the show will be great, although I'm convinced the show will be great, but I like the image. It's just that the kid looks too young. That's my only critique. That's my one note. I think the kid looks a little bit too young. I know Rob liked the kid, and I'm sure the kid will be great, but to me, he looks a little bit young. All right. Terrence writes, Nev Campbell was the best part of Scream 7, but was it just me or did you get Madam Web vibes at one point? Oh, Madam Web. Madam Web is an Oscar-winning film compared to Scream 7. Again, I wasn't being, what did I say? I think I said I would rather jack off with sandpaper than watch Scream 7 again. Nay, I would rather watch Madam Web again than watching Scream 7. I would say that I would much prefer watching Madam Web again. Anyway, Danito writes, understand if you don't want to answer, but after hearing some doomsday rumors, what do you think I'm going to say? Do you think some fans would be happy or upset about the opening scene? By the way, all I'm going to say about it is right now, as somebody who knows what happens, there's a lot of misinformation out there about what happens at the beginning of the movie. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say is that there's some significant wrong information out there about what happens in the movie. I won't talk about which ones specifically. I'm just saying there is some very, very incorrect information about the beginning of the movie out there. Anyway, Trevor West writes, DeLuca and Abdi have contracts and hoping DC leadership remains as is. I just want good movies. Don't break what's working and profitable. But contracts don't mean anything because you can just buy out a contract. And let's face it, DeLuca and Abdi are not making $4 billion. Now, again, according to the report we read coming out of Bloomberg, Paramount has said they intend to keep DeLuca, Abdi, Blois, James Gunn, and Peter Safran. So it sounds like it's their plan to keep them on. I absolutely 100% believe James Gunn ain't going to stick around. He's going to leave. He's going to say peace out. He's going to stay probably until he finishes shooting Man of Tomorrow. And then my guess is that once he's finished shooting Man of Tomorrow, he's going to go to David Zaslav, who will still be in control of Warner Brothers, because remember, Paramount won't actually own Warner Brothers for probably about a year. And once James Gunn has finished shooting Man of Tomorrow, my guess, I'm going to be shocked if this doesn't happen, but my guess is that James Gunn is going to go to David Zaslav and say, please let me out of my contract. I have no intention of working for Paramount. And then he'll split. I don't think James Gunn's going to be around. Again, according to Bloomberg, Paramount intends to keep James Gunn and Peter Safran, but I think he's going to ask to be let out of his contract before Paramount takes over. All right. Next up, we've got Team Caboozles writes, I knew I was in for a rough time with Scream 7 when with the pacing and dialogue. I was so checked out of Matthew Lillard's bless his heart, deserve better. Yeah, I mean, listen, the one little bright thing of joy in watching Scream 7 is seeing Matthew Lillard on there, right? Matthew Lillard. I love Matthew Lillard. I really do. But that wasn't nearly enough to save it, unfortunately, Team Caboozles. And you're right. The pacing and dialogue were just atrocious. All right, Joe Adonis T writes, happy belated birthday, John. Thank you so much, my friend. I hope your day was filled with love, unconditionally manifested, pooled in abundance, lumpia. For those of you who don't know, lumpia is a Filipino dish, my favorite Filipino dish. Okay, I'm not a wordsmith, but more lumpia for Campea. Yep, I actually, listen, I had a very low-key, birthday, because if you guys watched the show yesterday, we were doing the show yesterday morning and Rob wished me happy birthday. And I literally said, I totally forgot it was my birthday. I totally did. But I ended up having a great evening. I just spent it with Ann. Just me and Ann spent the evening together. We went to go see Scream, unfortunately. But I just spent it with Ann and my dog, and I had a very, very content birthday. Thank you for asking. All right. Let's see here. Seth sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Seth. Appreciate that, man. Thanks for supporting the channel on that level, man. He writes, hey, John, what a day so far. I wanted to ask two questions. One is, what will happen to CNN if you can't say for political reasons, I understand. And second, will Paramount still possibly go after NBC Universal bringing on the filthy? Paramount has no, first of all, people aren't even 100% sure they have the money to actually buy Warner Brothers. Because remember, they are being leveraged to the titties, like massively. So they absolutely don't have the money to now actually to try to go after NBC Universal as well. So that's off the table. But I will say this. Here's the thing, and I listen to this because this is important, okay? I did talk about this a few months ago, but I'm going to say it again. There are a lot of people who thought that Paramount was only going after Warner Brothers so they could get CNN to make it an offering to their dog leash master, Donald Trump, right? That a lot of people thought that's the only reason Warner Brothers is going after, or that's the only reason Paramount's going after them is to get Warner Brothers so they can also get CNN. But as I pointed out a few months ago, that made no sense. Because what was Warner Brothers going to do with CNN if Netflix was going to buy them? Warner Brothers, before the purchase was going to go through with Netflix, they were going to spin off all their TV assets except for HBO Max. TBS, TNT, all the other networks, including CNN and all the Discovery stuff, they were going to spin all that off into a separate company away from Warner Brothers and away from Netflix. That company was only going to be worth $3 or $4 billion. What's my point? My point is, if all Paramount wanted was to get their hands on CNN, then instead of paying $80 billion, they could have just waited until Warner Brothers spun that stuff off and then bought it super cheap for like 5%. They could have bought CNN for like $1, $2, $3 billion because Warner Brothers planned to spin it off and get rid of it. So no, Paramount was not only going after Warner Brothers so they could get CNN, because if all they wanted was CNN, they could have just waited for Netflix to buy Warner Brothers, spin off CNN, and then gone out and bought it itself for a fraction of the price. That doesn't mean they're not happy to get CNN, but I would just say to everybody who's like, the only reason Paramount wants us is to get CNN, that doesn't make sense. That makes zero sense. So you're saying they're going to spend $80 billion to get something they could just spend $1, $2, or $3 billion to get? That makes no sense. Did they want CNN? Yes, but they also clearly wanted Warner Brothers as a whole. They did not only go after Warner Brothers just to get CNN, because they could have done that for really cheap. All right. Great question, Seth. Thanks for sending that in. All right. Let's see. Silent Ghost writes, did Scream ruin your birthday? You know what? It was so bad that Ann and I had so much fun talking about it the rest of the night that it didn't ruin my birthday, because me and Ann laughed a lot talking about just how bad the movie was. So no, it didn't ruin my birthday, surprisingly enough. He also writes, Netflix could have saved us if they raised the bid. Yep. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't say this earlier in the show, but I'm also a little pissy that Netflix walked away. But they're smart business people. If they think that, look, you've heard me say this before, right? In talking about buying a house, right? The wrong house at the right price is still the wrong house. The right house at the wrong price is the wrong house. And that's what Netflix wanted Warner Brothers. It's the right house, but they only want it if they could buy it for a price that made sense. The right house at the wrong price is the wrong house. And Netflix said, we made our best offer. We made our best offer. This is as much as we think this is worth. And if Paramount makes a bigger bid, we're not going to match it because now it's not the right price. It's not worth it at that price. So yes, there is a part of me that's kind of pissy at Netflix for not matching Paramount's deal because that would have ended it. But I can't blame them if they're like, look, it's not worth it. It's simply not worth that price. And they walked away and, you know, they did what was good for them. And I don't blame them for it. All right. Thanks, Signpost. Jesse Roy writes, I laughed so hard from your Scream 7 out of the theater review. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I did do an out of theater review of Scream 7 that was much, much, much shorter than the review I did a little bit earlier in the show. If you're interested, go and check it out. All right. Thanks for that, Jesse. Next up, Noah John writes, part 1 of 2. Hey, John, first time tipping. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that, Noah. Shawshank Redemption's primary filming location, the Ohio State Reformatory Prison, is in Mansfield, Ohio. This is only 45 minutes north of Columbus. They have regular tours you should check out when you visit Ohio. Done. So it looks like sometime probably in May or June, we're going to do a movie meetup in Columbus, Ohio. And I did not know that that's where they shot one of my all-time top 3 favorite films of all time, Shawshank Redemption. I had no idea of that. I am absolutely, if it's only 45 minutes away from Columbus, I am absolutely going to go do that. I am 100%. Thank you for letting me know about that. I am 100% going to do that. All right, next up, Jesse writes, Ian McKellen as Gandalf versus Ian McKellen as Magneto. He's masterful in both. I think he got an Oscar nomination in Fellowship. Correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat, guys, but I'm pretty sure Ian McKellen got nominated for an Oscar for Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, the first Lord of the Rings film. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he did. But I really also, so he's magnificent as Gandalf. He's amazing as Gandalf, but I thought he had a little bit more to draw on to play Magneto. So it's close. It's 1 and 1A, but I'm going to go Magneto. All right. Next up, Dallas Designer who writes, now Paramount is going to make a sequel to The Offer. Yep. I could totally see that happen. All right. And our final question of the day comes to us from Jacob the Galbo, who writes, happy late name day, John. Keep fighting hard. Hard like the Northerner. And I am a Northerner. By the way, I told people about this on yesterday's show. I told people about this image that somebody had made for me for my birthday. And I said I would put it up on my social media. Let me see if I can grab it here. So I'll show you the picture that they made and sent me. Let me see if I can get it here. Yeah, there it is. I love this picture. I don't know why I get a kick out. Totally AI generated. Totally obviously AI generated. But I love that picture. King of the North. I am indeed King of the North. All the Canadians await my return. The return of the king to come home. They are my people. But yeah, I totally loved it. So they got a little bit of a mixture of like a Westeros theme in the background with the Canadian Parliament in the background. Yeah, I totally love it. I wonder, it just made me laugh when they sent it in to me. I'm gonna have to look up the username of the person who sent it to me, but it just made me laugh. I really loved it. All right. And guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for writing it. Oh, and by the way, yes. I didn't even notice that. I totally missed it. That was a $50 super chat from Jacob the Galbo. Thank you. So it's incredibly generous of you, man. Thank you so much for supporting the channel on that level, dude. I really, really appreciate that very much. It's very kind of you, man. Thank you. And thank you for the belated birthday wishes. And guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you, of course, to Robert Meyer Burnett, to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about. And number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so much for your support. We will be doing an open mic this weekend, so keep your eyes on the channel for when we announce we're going to actually do it. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to be tomorrow or Sunday, but it'll be one day. And don't forget, guys, on Tuesday night, we are going to do the next installment of Movie Club, and it's a special one. We're going to be talking about the book or the audiobook, whichever one you can consume, of Project Hail Mary. So you've got a few days now to go and get Project Hail Mary, read it, listen to it, whatever. And on Tuesday, we're doing a very special movie club where we're going to talk about the book and then talk about the things, how we think that's going to translate into the movie. So I hope you guys will get caught up on Project Hail Mary and join us for that very special movie club on Tuesday evening. All right, guys. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. This has been a lot of fun. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.